Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Zone Star State podcast. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Ishmael Johnson. And Ish, we're here Thursday, November 7th. Have you recovered from all the losses that we had to talk about last podcast?
Yeah. I think we're in much better vibes this week, this episode. But yeah, it's definitely it's a rough start to the season that I did not expect. But I think we're in a little bit. I'm in a little bit of better vibes after this past couple days. So
Yeah, like we always talk about, we're just going to talk about the good teams on this podcast for the
yeah.
most part, especially once it gets later in the season. But
Mm-hmm.
in order to get there, we have to figure out who the good teams are and who the
Yes.
the, the not good teams are. So that's what this kind of early process is. And I told you yesterday, I said it's going to be perfect. We can record like at 2 p.m. and it's
Mm-hmm.
right after UTSA and Texas A&M women's basketball play. We talked about this last podcast. We talked about A&M a lot, but then you asked
Mm-hmm.
me, who do they have next? UTSA at home. And that's the game we were all locked in on. And Texas A&M holds on, beats UTSA 55-51 at home. We both watched it.
Yep.
Where do you start when talking about this game?
Um, I think you can start in two places. I think you can start with the fact that, hey, look, A&M is just in a spot where this is a game we were not shocked that UTSA was in till the final gun.
Yep.
Um, and you could say that I'll give them a credited, like a good hard fought win, right? I'll say that. The A&M loss to Corpus Christi was bad, and that's why we kind of even more. I think even if they won that game, we would still probably have had this one circled. But now that we kind of know where A&M is, uh, look, they're not a good team, especially not a good SEC team. I think we're starting to see, and I think where Joni Taylor is maybe starting to see is where this team's going to have to lie as far as like rely on. Um, we knew it was going to be Aja Coulibaly. I think that was evident. But I think Sahara Jones is somebody that they're just going to have to go for. This is offensively, I'm speaking.
Yeah.
Sahara Jones is just has to be the go-to player alongside Aja Coulibaly. Defensively, they were fine. I thought that defensively they did a good job of kind of limiting Jordan Jenkins' touches, I'd say. There were some moments she still got hers. She got a double-double. But I think that getting the ball to her wasn't the best. And when she did get the ball, she didn't get them in the best positions. So I think that's something they can hang their hat on. Offensively, again, not great, really not great. But defensively, I think they're just going to have to hang their hat on being lengthy and, forcing teams to take bad shots.
Yeah, I look at these two teams as honestly very similar in terms of what they do well, what they don't do well. And honestly, like talent-wise, I don't think there's much of a difference at all. Like
Yeah.
significantly, I texted you. I think Jordan Jenkins was the best player on the court, is the best player in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And A&M, we saw Sahara Jones come alive, 16 points, was huge for them to win this game. So credit to Sahara Jones. Aisha Coulibaly is clearly a good player as well.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, we've talked about the drop off and how they don't have a bunch of depth behind, especially not offensively.
Yeah.
The difference is, if these two teams are similar on a similar level, in my opinion, UTSA will play teams in the American Athletic Conference that can't bang with Jordan Jenkins and Idara Udo, who I thought both of them just were really, really good handling physicality of Lauren Ware and Texas
Mm-hmm.
A&M and go toe to toe with them. You mentioned, A&M pushing Jenkins off her spots a bit, but still, even Udo getting in there for 7 boards and 3 offensive rebounds. I mean, UTSA ended the game with 15 offensive rebounds. So both these teams, like statistically, you look at just how the game played out, was very, very similar.
Yeah.
Both didn't hit a ton of threes. Both had 15 offensive rebounds. The difference is UTSA will be playing teams where I think they're going to have a massive advantage on the inside in every game, really. And A&M will not. A&M
Yeah.
will have to, figure out how to win other ways. But to your point, they fought hard. A&M found a way to win this game. Very, very, they could have folded, could have
Mm-hmm.
lost to a UTSA team that I think is good, but they found a way at home to get it done.
Two last things on A&M before we get into UTSA. They gotta stop fouling. They had so many fouls in this game. Part of it is, I think, when Jordan Jenkins or Udo were in positions to score, it's hard to not foul them when they're inside. But somebody like Jada Malone, right? She fouled 4 fouls in 13 minutes. She's somebody who's gonna need to stay healthy. She looked really good when she was on the floor. I think she finished with 6 and 6 in 13 minutes. Like that, she knows how to get her spots. She's a 5-star for a reason. She needs to be on the floor. And so, she's going to have to just stay disciplined. And then the second thing is Kendall Hunter, man, I don't know.
Struggling.
I get it. It's been 2 years she's played, but it's looking, she hit 2 threes today. But I'd mentioned before halftime, Joni Taylor was clearly wanting to head into the locker room with one last shot, and she drove into like 3 defenders with like 9 seconds left on the shot. It wasn't good. She looks like she's forcing it still, and I think it's going to be a slow process if she's going to get up to what she was coming out of high school.
Yeah, I don't have too much else on A&M. I feel like we covered it all on the last podcast, really. But I don't have their schedule in front of me. I could actually just press a button and look at it. But they are yeah, Western Michigan, West Virginia, Northwestern State. And
I will say, thank goodness they got this one, because West Virginia's, it could have been 1 and 3.
Yeah, and I don't know how good. Well, yeah, I don't know how good Western Michigan is, so we'll find out there. But yeah, it's gonna be hit or miss for a lot of the year. I still think this is gonna have to be a team that is defense first. I mean, I think we look at it, Janae Kent, Sahara Jones, Aisha Coulibaly, like that is quality length on the wing, like at the 2 through 4 spots, really.
1,000%.
So they can be a good defense. You're just gonna have to muck up every game. You're gonna have to make it like a free throw contest. You're gonna have to play some like Tarleton State men's basketball, some Gillespie ball.
Yes.
That's what this team needs to do, and then just figure out a way to hit some threes late, like they did. I think Talia Parker hit a 3 in the second half. Janae Kent hit a 3 in the second half. You just gotta make some plays to win it. So that's the A&M side of things. Nothing changes too much there. UTSA, this was our first chance to get eyes on them, and I don't want to come off too optimistic here, because honestly, I think they could have won this game. Like, I think they, as a program, you go into this, A&M Corpus Christi just beat this team. And I understand, A&M comes into this game with heightened senses, not wanting to lose. But if you're UTSA, you go into this game saying, hey, we can win. We should win. And they should have at times. Like, they came out the second half, 11-0 run. Boom, take a lead. And they just couldn't quite hold on, not consistent enough, I think, on the perimeter. And just, I don't, like, there's nothing they did like outright, like wrong, like I'd say, but they just didn't shoot well. I think the guards kind of struggled more than I wanted them to.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing, is the perimeter play. We're seeing what happens when they don't have Kira White. I mentioned it, Nina DeLeon Negron is no Kira White. I think she struggled. She only had 1 assist, 2 turnovers, right? I think as a team, they only had 7 assists, right? And so it's like, Kira White's one of the best playmakers in the country. And when you lose her and you kind of replicate, like, she was having some games where she had 7 assists by herself. And so, it's going to be a process. And I think the perimeter is going to be where they have to take that next step. I will say, I agree with you that they should have. This was a game they could have won, maybe should have at times. Karen Aston did not look happy in the handshake line afterwards. Like, in terms of, like, you can see that was like, it looked like they had lost a game that was, like, on paper they should have won, right? Like they lost to like St. Mary's in San Antonio or something. So it was very, I can tell on her face, it was like, yeah, no, that got away from us. And again, I don't think their weakness in this game is going to be something that, it's not going to be the last time we're going to be talking about this backcourt. I don't think, until they get gelled together. They didn't shoot well, 3 of 16 from beyond. So it was like, I should also mention they went very big, right? Udo and Jenkins and Maya Linton all started. So it was like, okay, that's like 3 pretty big players. So they went very big. So I'm wondering if that's just what they go. That's where they go. So
they also brought in, I didn't get the name. Was it Cheyenne Rowe? Who they brought in? Like, Jenkins played the 3 at times in this game. I don't think it was
Cheyenne Rowe, another forward. I mean, they're deep at forward. I'll say that.
Yeah, like they rolled with some lineups that I thought were interesting because Jenkins is so good, like, and so athletic. She matched up with Sahara Jones pretty well,
Mhm.
and so they were able to kind of go to that with her at the 3 at times. So
They're a
yeah,
tall team. They're gonna beat some teams just purely off of size this year.
yeah, yeah. So again, it is one that I think Karen Aston should be frustrated with because if you win that game, you have RGV next, and we'll talk about RGV in a second. But like
Yeah.
RGV, New Mexico State, UTEP, A&M Corpus Christi are your next 4 games, and those are all like not easy games by any
Mhm.
means, but you could go 3-1 in that stretch for
Yeah.
sure. And then look at you. So definitely one UTSA will want back. We'll see how the guards develop. I still think Sydney Love is a good player.
Mhm.
I think they have enough talent here, but we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. We got a real quick on the women's side talk about Houston women's basketball,
Mhm.
and it kind of gets to what I was saying earlier, but we got to figure out who the bad teams are.
Yep.
We already knew Houston was going to struggle this year, but to lose at home to UTRGV, 70-68 on a game winner, really. RGV
Yeah.
comes down. Your girl Charlotte O'Keefe, the last
Yes.
pick
My
of
late
Ishmael's
draft pick.
draft pick, the one that he pivoted to
Yes, yes,
after
yes.
he picked the Houston Christian girl. He goes to RGV's page and selects Charlotte O'Keefe. She hits the game-winning 3 to beat Houston in Houston. O'Keefe 18 points. Cade Hackerat 20 points. As a team, they shoot almost 50% from the field. They're
Mhm.
12 of 27 from 3 for RGV. Now it's like I think you talked about Houston's defense for like a Big 12 standards was a concern. I mean, it's a concern at the Southland level.
I was about to say this is what Huey's teams want to do is play defense, and I don't know. I don't know. Like it's very frustrating because the offense looked fine. Like UTRGV couldn't guard Houston either, right?
Yeah,
Um, I should mention this is also without. I believe they were without Layla Blair.
yeah,
Um, and they were finding ways to score. So, like, this should have been a game where you looked at it and said, "Man, no Layla Blair and Kiara Merchant's doing well. Gia Cook off the bench." You're like, "Oh, this should be a game that you leave and you say, awesome, good win. No go-to players, still shot over, high 40s to 50% from the floor,
yeah. Full
and you
memory.
just can't play defense at all. Like they get 23 bench points. UTRGV did.
Yeah,
It's not 12 points in the paint again, not crazy, but like from beyond 8 of 15 from beyond, it's like, man, like this is where you should be more physical than them, right? You should be more. Actually, sorry, I was reading Houston's 12 of 27. Houston
yeah.
UTRGV was from 3.
From 3. Yeah,
Um, you should be beating this team on the block and physically, and they were just I don't know. I don't know. This is again, this is a bad loss. Like probably I'll say it definitely worse than A&M Corpus Christi over A&M. Corpus Christi was at least a conference championship contending team.
yeah. RGV last year, for context, went 6-23 overall, 5-15 in conference play. And lost to UTRGV last year. Lost to Texas Tech by 42 points. Just
Yeah,
yeah,
not
nothing,
great.
no positives of this game. Like last year, UTRGV lost to Corpus Christi by 23 points. Like that's
Mm.
the situation we're in right now. So,
All right, let's play the schedule game with Houston. They got Georgia coming up and Rice.
oh, Rice, bro, set the spread for Rice Houston in women's basketball because
Let's go, baby.
it's like
Look,
Rice
right.
minus like
Oh, here
10.
it's gonna be a bad time. Here's the okay. Let me just read their schedule out of through the month of November. Georgia, Rice, Houston Christian, Alcorn State, North Texas, Minnesota, Pacific, who I'm unsure about, UTA.
It's 2 wins, unless the
Probably
Pacific
just,
sucks.
it's probably just two wins.
Let me see if Pacific stinks. Well, Pacific won their season opening game, so they gotta be better. So yeah, I mean, we could be talking about what is that like 2-8? Oh my lord.
And then they get Southeastern Louisiana and Mississippi Valley State before Big 12.
Southeastern's gonna beat them.
You think so?
Southeastern almost won the conference last year. Southeastern is A&M Corpus Christi
That's
level.
right. That's right. Yeah, that's a good point.
Like that's
Yeah. So they get 2 games before they get Big 12 play. Like after that run.
yeah. So
they could have three. They could have 3 wins in non-conference before they play.
yeah.
Big 12.
Let's just say Houston and A&M women's. This might be the last time we talk about y'all for quite some time. Here.
Yeah.
Shoot 50. They shot 53% for the game,
Crazy.
8 of 15 from 3, and you lose to RGV.
Crazy.
Like that is outstanding. That is outstanding. Okay, let's move on to a good team. We gotta start talking. We gotta find the good teams, and I think North Texas men's basketball. Well, the women's are good too. We'll talk about the women's on another podcast. But the men, Ross Hodge has done it again. I'm ready to say it. 1 game in, then they beat Evansville.
You're just dousing yourself. You're Chris Boshing yourself with Kool-Aid right now. Just
it went into the year. Look, when you are a North Texas fan, when you're really any G5 program or mid-major program, you don't know what you have. You're
That's
like,
true,
all right, they lost 80 or 90% of their production from last year, dude. These guys are at Michigan, Vanderbilt, St. John's, everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
You have to portal in an entire new roster outside of 3 players. And they did it again. Ross Hodge did it again. I don't know how. These guys are just really, really. I can't remember the last time I've had that much fun watching a North Texas game.
That's a good.
Like they were playing with not like pace in terms of running the court, but like pace in the half court.
Yeah.
And these guards are just going and they're pulling up for 3 and they're attacking. I mean, Jasper Floyd, 23 points on 7-11 shooting. I mean, he was phenomenal. Started the year back-to-back threes, got to the line 8 times, had 5 assists. They are legitimately, and like some like national accounts were tweeting about this. It was like they have 4 guards that are legitimately like they can all go. Jasper Floyd, Atten Wright, Latrell Giselle, who we know about, and Jonathan Massey. That is a group of 4. And Floyd 23, Wright 16, Massey 18, and Giselle 7. And Latrell Giselle is going to score more than 7. He went 0-5 from 3, which he's a 40% shooter. So like you got 4 guys there that are going to constantly combine to score like 45, 50 points a game. I mean, that's a fun group.
Yeah, I was about to say Giselle didn't play well, but we just know his talent, right? We know he played. I think he almost played 30 minutes a game or 30 minutes. I think he just finished with under.
Yeah, 27.
We know he's going to get going. What I will say, it is very funny that like, is it just when you put Ross Hodge and Grant McCaslin in one room that they just say, all right, so let's not do any of the stuff that we would do if we were coaching by ourselves, like on our own, right? I was watching this team and I'm watching guards pull a rebound down and push the ball up the floor. They kind of didn't play that great of defense. Obviously last year that roster was more of, what they had to do, but I still think that Grant wants to go a little more up tempo than he did at North Texas. And I'm just like, what happens when they were on the same staff? They were just like, all right, let's just go completely against our morals and just like dribble the air out the ball. Nobody takes a 2v1. Nobody, like, it's just like we were walking everything up the floor. But I'm like, I'm watching these guys in this game and I'm like, they're going like 1-on-3 sometimes. Like they're pulling the ball up around half court or, around the key, obviously, but like they're trying to see what's happening if they can just like get something going. And I'm like, this is alien to me. You saw a little bit of it last year, but having like you mentioned 3 or 4 guards that are able to just like, all right, let's go. We'll look up the floor. And it was like, okay, let's pull up. Let's not, not here. Like Matthew Stone was doing it. And I'm like, how many of these guards are just like have the green light to at least like try to initiate something, right? They don't all have the green light to shoot, but it was at least that they're drilled into what's drilled into them now is like, look up the floor and go. And then see what's around you. If nothing's there, boom, okay, cool, pull it back. But like they all are playing with their head up when they get a rebound or something, and it's very fun.
Yeah, and they still dominated the glass. I mean, 15 offensive boards, only allowed 3 from Evansville, and Evansville is around 200 in Ken Palm. They got a Italian dude who is cold as heck. Gabriel Pizzato, 28 points on 10 of 16 shooting. So I was like, okay, hold on. But North Texas went up. What was it? It was 41. it was 41 to at
19
some point.
probably.
Oh, I mean, halftime was 42-17, but I think it was like
Yeah,
41-13 at one point or something like
yeah.
that.
It
They were
was,
blowing the
they
doors.
definitely took the foot off the gas defensively in the second half.
Yeah, the second half to allow 46 points,
Yeah,
Ross is just gonna
yeah.
kill them for that. But in the first half, it felt like, okay, they're playing with tempo. They're rebounding the heck out of the ball. These guards are amazing. And then you get to the wings and the forwards,
Mhm.
and I consider, Matthew Stone, even though he's like 6'4", I consider him like a wing. So you
Yeah.
have him, you have Rondell Walker as kind of your two wings that can play the three. And I think both of them just kind of play their role. So
Mhm.
I'm good with them. And then the front court, you have like 3 or 4 guys that all, again, just play their role. This is not going to be a team that relies on like a Zach Simmons from back in the day or like an
Sure.
Abu Usman or anything like that.
Yeah.
Um,
This is a differently constructed team.
yeah, you have like play finishers more
Yep.
so with Sissoko and these transfers that they have. Who it's gonna take some time for me to figure out what they're all good at. But these are all like play finisher type of guys that look skilled in terms of the transfers. So yeah, I'm excited to see what like a guard heavy North Texas team really looks like, because even in years past, it was still like, last year was, all right, get it to Aaron Scott. At times, year before that, it was, like we said, Abu. And then before that, it was like Simmons. So like you still had these bigs who demanded the ball.
Mhm.
I don't think you're going to have that situation anymore. It's going to be a lot of ball screens, a lot of transition type stuff. And these guards can just shoot it. I mean, 24 threes. 24 of your 57 shots being from 3 is a pretty good clip.
Yeah. I'll say this. UNT has a big game in football this weekend.
Ooh.
Fans, let this game determine whether or not you can just start matriculating to the super pit, because because uh, you have a fun team to watch, and if you want to start paying attention to them early in basketball season,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Oh, they play tonight against Wayland Baptist, so,
There you go.
get
Get
rid
some
of that
highlights
game.
up.
But then you got road games against Minnesota, November 13th, and
Okay.
against McNeese on November 18th.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
That
Give me that
McNeese game
McNeese game.
was a really late ad, and
Yeah.
it's on a Monday, which sucks, but I'm still might try to go to it.
I was about to say that's a what, 3-hour drive for you about?
Not 2, it's 2.
2? Okay, okay.
Yeah, right between Houston and Baton Rouge, 2 hours
Yeah.
right in the middle of it. So, yeah, I'll probably be there. Check out my boy Will Wade and
There
Ross
you go.
Hodge. Um,
I love it.
so those 2 games, we'll learn a lot about this team and how they look. I mean, then they still got like Oregon State coming to the Super Pit on the 25th. I mean, so on
Mhm.
and so forth. It's a schedule. It is. I
Yeah,
mean, heck,
I like it.
yeah, High Point is really good too, Northern Iowa. Anyways, we'll see about North Texas basketball. We had to talk about a good team in here.
Yes.
Um, Another team that I think is interesting, we can wrap this up on, which I don't even think I told you before we hopped on.
Mhm.
Rice got a win over FIU. Rice men got a win
Yes, I
over
did see this.
FIU.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to watch a lot of this. I
Mhm.
watched clips, but Caden Powell, a guy who I drafted in my fantasy team, kind of on a whim, saying, he showed some talent, played at Wyoming, 17 points on 7 of 7 shooting with 11 boards and 2 blocks in 23 minutes.
Okay.
I said going into the year, I think Rice's front court is going to be its strength.
Mhm.
It looks like it to me. 5 blocks for the game. This is definitely a team that, and it's not that FIU is great, but
Sure.
still to start the um, start the season with a
Yeah.
win like this is good.
I'll say 28% shooting for FIU in the first half. So, like, Rob Lanier was in his bag in the first half. So, they shot, I believe, just over 45% as a team. So, like, look, we know that he can do something quickly. Like, we knew that he can implement his style quickly. SMU was playing a lot better of a brand of basketball than in his second year.
Oh,
And so, the fact that I think it helps, the fact that Rice is kind of a clean slate at Rice, right? It's not a
yeah.
lot of guys who are playing it with Scott Para, or at least starting under Scott Para. So I think it helps him more there, as opposed to, like, a lot of guys who were playing under Jankovic or somebody before
Yeah.
you.
Um, Sorry, I just saw this. Rice shot 38 free throws in this
There you go.
game.
Hey, get to the line.
We have a new candidate for Gillespie ball.
Yeah, let's go, baby.
FIU shot 24 free throws, so 62 combined free throws in this game.
Yeah.
We'll see if that holds up. But Rice is a team that I want to get some eyes on here to see what Lanier and this team can do. And they play Florida State on Saturday. So
Okay.
that'll be – and it's in Houston, Toyota Center. So that'll be an interesting one right there. A lot of games we'll get to talk about. Do you have any do you want to touch on
Just
or
quick
anything?
shout out to the TCU women's. They looked really good. Obviously, it was a kind of an easy game against Houston Christian, but Haley Van Lith, Sedona Prince combined for I believe 40. 50 combined for 50. Haley Van Lith had 7 assists along with Madison Connor. No Maddie Schur yet. I believe she's out, but still, it was cool to see Haley Van Lith back, feeling herself again. Ella Hamlin, walk on, got her first points of her career. She got in the game and got her first points, so that was really cool. So yeah, it was cool to see just like what the rotations are looking like. Looks like Roberson is that backup big for them. I believe the starters were Connor Van Lith backcourt, Donovan Hunter, Taylor Bigby, and Sedona Prince as the others. So interesting lineup, but I thought it was pretty good. They're still dealing obviously with some knocks here and there. Agnes Emanopu not playing, but I think that having the depth of what they do have makes them formidable regardless. So just a good showing from them.
Yeah. Baylor. Sorry, I'm looking at games for this weekend.
Yeah.
Is Baylor's second game of the year is against Oregon on Sunday. They play in Incarnate Word tonight, then Oregon on Sunday.
Ooh, okay.
There's one. I know Houston men's basketball faces Auburn on Saturday night.
That's a massive one. I'm very excited.
If Houston wins that, I mean, they might move up to number 1 in the polls really quickly. And I'm sure there's a lot more, but those are the two that jump off the screen to me.
I'm trying to look into next week a little bit on the women's side. I think you mentioned the Oregon game, Baylor, Oregon on Sunday. I think Monday, Rice at South Alabama. It's kind of it really on our side as far as Monday's concerned. So
nice. Cool. Let me take one more scroll through to make sure I'm not missing any stuff we can preview. Everyone's got pretty easy games. TCU men play Florida Gulf Coast. I do want to give a quick shout out. RGV men hung with Creighton, even though Ryan Kalkbrenner scored 49 points.
Yeah, I did see he dropped 49.
And I got a text from my friend who is a basketball junkie. He said, "Hey, RGV looks kind of good." So
yeah,
we're gonna have to tune into some RGV men's game here to get some eyes on them relatively soon.
Interesting game. Not a big time one, but UTEP is at Utah Valley on Saturday. If you want to, we're very curious about this UTEP team this year. I believe Utah Valley is one of the middle of the pack-ish teams of the kind of like below that Grand Canyon tier in the WAC. So I'm just curious to see if they hang around. It's a kind of a good formidable matchup for them.
Saturday is such a crazy slate, dude. There's got to be 100. There's like 60 games here, and just off
La
the Texas
taking on
game,
UTA on the men's
La
side.
Tech versus UTA. Where'd they go? I just had like 4. We already talked
Tarleton
about
and Sam. Jesus.
Baylor at Arkansas. Sam Houston State at Tarleton State.
Oh, that's gonna be a good one too. Jeez.
And then obviously Auburn at Houston. So that's 5 there that we're gonna have to talk about.
I am down.
Unfortunately, it's also a football day. We haven't cleared out of football yet, so
I know.
I will be at LSU versus Alabama, so I will not be able to live watch most of these. But basketball is here. Basketball is underway. We're almost we're 4 days into the season now. We'll start doing these podcasts live more, so you can follow us on Twitter at DCT Basketball. Follow me at Matthew Brune _ follow Ish at Ishmael R. Johnson. Thank you all for joining us. Leave us a like, comment, share, subscribe if you have not already. We're posting these podcasts on the Dave Campbell's Texas football YouTube channel, so check us out over there, and we will talk to y'all later.